I don't care how much you love this country. I don't care how much you play the games, you watch the anime, whatever. It's gonna hit you. It's always like a thorn in my side. Like I am never going to be one of these people. I am never going to fit in.
Hey guys, welcome back to the KoreKara Podcast. This is part 2 of our conversation with Dorian, so make sure to listen to part 1 if you haven't already. To give a quick summary, Dorian is an ALT in Japan, having studied abroad there 4 years ago. In the first episode, we went over how Dorian got to Japan and the different techniques he used to study Japanese. In this one, we'll dive deep into the issues that foreigners face in Japan, as well as societal issues from a Western perspective. Also, if you like the podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes or leave us a comment on YouTube. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the podcast.
So I guess now kind of getting back to the whole ALT and actually working. So just to give some background, all of us are all Gaijin in Japan. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So would you say being a Gaijin in Japan affected your work life and even go as far as like your social life?
It's funny because being a teacher in a different country, there's a different culture to it. So in America, if you're a teacher, a lot of people think, that's kind of on the low end. Like, you're not really getting a lot of money. You don't get a lot of respect. It's like kind of like I'm trying to man. I'm about to forget English for a second. 'Cause I'm gonna say it like kawaii so, but I'm like, how I say that? Oh, poor, like really like poor kid, or like poor, like feel bad for that person. If you're a teacher in America, because that they're putting their heart into that job at the same time not getting the money, especially with 45 taking all the education funding and putting it towards military and economics. So it's really sad image. But in Japan, it's the flip side. It's teachers are really respected. They're really seen as these role models. And if you present yourself, you don't even have to try really hard to present yourself in a really stoic or like I guess aspiring to be brave man. You don't have to do all that. They just already assume that, like, oh, you're a teacher. Oh, okay, well, we got you at this high level, and kids are going to respect you. The co-workers are going to respect you, and even strangers are going to be like, oh, wow, you're a teacher. That's really nice. Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that coin, you're kind of like at the bottom of the list when it comes to Gaijin, which what you referred to, because Gaijin who are like teachers is very common in Japan. Mm-hmm. So IT work is like more special and more, it requires a lot of skill. And that's even more like, oh, wow, that's amazing. So if you can make your own websites, if you can design things, if you can, do programming, coding, that's like really cool here, as opposed to just being a teacher. So it's very complicated.
I see. So would you say there's like a lot of discrimination then against Gaijin English teachers in Japan?
Yes, 100%. It's not good. But if I'm gonna be nice. But up until now, I guess ALTs that I've talked with, that I've seen, they're a little on the different different side. They like their anime, they like the manga, and they really they wear it on the sleeve. Mm. And me, I'm not that type of person. Like I like my anime. I grew up with it. I grew up with the Dragon Ball, with Rurouni Kenshin. Like I grew up with all that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm like I like to think I'm three-dimensional, four-dimensional. So I got a lot of different layers to me. I like music. I like talking about culture, like talking about society problems and things like that. So it's just, it's the stereotype is there where AOTs that come into Japan are usually like otaku. Mm-hmm. And there is discrimination with that, that comes with that. And a lot of Japanese people will talk bad about those type of gaijin that come. And fortunately for me, I haven't had that issue because I don't really talk about that stuff. And, people ask me all the time, like, oh, are you into that? And I'm like, I am. I don't watch Attack on Titan like that a lot. I mean, I like it. But, I'm not updated with every single episode. I'm not like, putting an alarm on for when the premieres. I ain't like that, So there is a stereotype.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about that in our second episode of anime, where
yes,
there is sort of a negative connotation with the word otaku, and because like the gaijin that come to Japan, who are ALT, are usually like anime otakus, then they like naturally just have like a negative connotation with a lot of Japanese people. Mm-hmm. But did you ever find it like difficult to connect with Japanese people or make Japanese friends because of that like inherent discrimination or stereotyping?
Not necessarily. I've always been like a pretty crazy guy, so like when people met me, they knew like what they were getting themselves into. Okay, he's the party guy. He's fun. He likes to be in your face. Like I like to talk about music. I like to talk like, yo, you want to karaoke? Let's go. I'm that kind of guy. It's just in your face, and love to have fun. So I never really had that problem when it came to like, oh, you're gaijin. Do you like, slam dunk? It's basketball. Like I'm terrible at basketball, but I've never had that problem in Japan. I mean, there are some instances where I would meet strangers and they would ask those things. Like, as far as being a black person in Japan, that's something that I've had to deal with. Like, for example, people would ask me, oh, hey, you're black. Do you like basketball? Are you really good at did you play basketball when you were a kid or something? I was like, yeah, but I sucked. So, you have those stereotypes, and I'm just like, that stuff kind of annoys me. I'm not going to lie. Or people saying like, yo, you're probably a really good kisser. And I'm like, why? Hey, are you looking at what I'm looking at? I'm like, come on, bro. Like, I mean, I am, but you don't have to do that. Like, and like, mind you, with friends, that's cool. It's all fun and games. But with strangers, that's when it becomes an issue, because you don't know me and you're already assuming, that I like certain things or I can do certain things, and you haven't taken the time to actually have a full-on conversation. So those problems are definitely I've experienced before.
I see.
Have you had experiences where strangers like just come up to you like on the train or something and like try to talk to you?
Yes. Ross, I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
There was one time where I was on the train going back home, and there was this old man just like talking in my ear, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he was just like, yo, let's go to Izakaya. Let's go right now. And he's literally like, he was taking me to this Izakaya, and it was just nothing but smoke. Mind you, I have eye allergies. So my eyes were burning, and I was just, I got to get out of here. And then he proceeds to grab my wrist really hard and was just like, all right, well, let's go to another place. And I was like, yo, I'm going home. I got a test tomorrow. Like, just get away from me. Like, so awkward, weird. And you gotta be careful, man. Like, some people are just not right in the head. And, I've had some experiences like that where, I I guess, how would you say, like, not gullibleness, but like just social skills and my willingness to talk to people and have different experiences, they got me in a situation where I was like, okay, I shouldn't have never said anything to that person or even like warranted a response. So that, that's definitely, it's scary, man. Yeah. It's scary,
But sometimes I think Japanese people, they want to practice English. So when they see a foreigner, they're just like, oh, I can practice English. And then they go up to them and talk to them. Like,
and sometimes that's cool. Sometimes that's cool. I had those instances where like there was an older lady that, talked to me and John, and I think it was like one other person with us. I don't know if it was there, Raza. It might have been, it was either you or somebody else. I can't remember, but there was this old lady talking to us, and she was just like, oh, where are you from? Da, da, da. And she just wanted to speak English. That's cool. There was no crazy questions, no, hey, I'm going to drag your wrist and take it to, a place so we can drink. Like, no, it was none of that. Yeah. Some people are cool, some people are not. You got to learn discernment.
There was this one time where I was on the train and I was like reading this English book. It was like the Steve Jobs biography, and it was like really thick, like maybe like a 600-page book. So I was like holding it, and then this like Japanese salaryman saw me reading this English book, and he was like so drunk too, and he just like came and sat down next to me, and he started like speaking to me in English, but then he couldn't actually speak English. So he just made a bunch of sounds that sounded like English, and then he just like kept talking to me, and then it was just like sometimes it would sound like an English word, and other times it was just gibberish. And he was just like trying to be really fluent, and he's probably like trying to make it seem like to other people that he's like so fluent in English, but it was just complete gibberish, and that lasted like 10 stops, like actually like 10 stops.
No!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Was this in Tokyo?
Yeah, it was in Tokyo.
Oh my god! You know what's worse than that? Like, I've had those experiences with completely sober people.
Oh no!
Like, there was this place I would go to. It wasn't like an actual gym, but it was like a community center, and they had like weights and yoga things. They had classes and stuff. So I would go in there, just do some weights, use the machines a little bit. And every time I would go in like the onsen area, and shower, there was like this dude, like he would either meet me while I'm working out or he would meet me in the onsen. He was just like, hey, so school, where? And I'm like, did you just want to ask me where do I go to school? Like, that's all you had to say. So it's like people buffering, like right in front of you. It's just like, I want to see how long.
It's hitting you with that real life 404 error.
No, yes, that 404.
Blue screening on you right there.
I'm like, I know the exact apartment you live in. You live in 404, don't you? You live in there. God, please. But yeah, that definitely happens. Even in school, like I get teachers that'll try to talk to me, and I'm like, just speak in Japanese. It's okay.
Yeah.
He's speaking like, you. I'm like, I know what? Like, what did you say? It's crazy, bro.
You probably had the experience of like saying something in Japanese and then the Japanese person just replying to you in English, even though their English is worse than your Japanese.
Yes. I'm just speaking Japanese. I know what you're saying. Like if you want to speak English, that's cool. I support it 100%. I'm not that impatient, but like sometimes it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm waiting like 30 seconds for you to say something. Like, that's too long.
Slow internet connection.
It takes me a minute to say what I want to say in Japanese. But I'm going to get something out. You know what I mean? Even if I don't know exactly what you said, I'm going to be like, I'll try to play it off and be like, okay, well, that happened to me yesterday. Somebody asked about my name tag changing because I made a new one for myself. But I didn't hear exactly what they said. So I was like, Yeah, so yeah, I got this mask from Korea. Like I changed my mask, like this from Korea. And she was like, no, I'm talking about the name tag. I was like, oh, name tag, my bad. And I was like, yeah, I made this myself because I couldn't find my old name tag that the school gave me. And so you just gotta play it off, man. Just catch, like, just remember that one thing that they said, like catch something, just be like, okay, talk about this changed, or just play it up. Man, Japanese cannot do that. They have to be 100% or it's 0. There is no in between. And it's a mess.
So I guess going back to, I guess, a little bit of the discrimination, we talked a little bit, I guess, outside of your job and what it kind of means to be black in Japan, with like all the stereotypes just like hitting you back and forth. But would you say, like, in your work it's affected you? Because we talked about before how sort of the anime stereotype kind of hits you first, but is there like another layer to this?
I would say, we talked about the anime situation. We talked about a little bit about being black. I mean, for me, there's also like just being foreign in general. There's I hope I'm saying this right, but there is a term in Japanese called Shima国Konjo, which means like island mind. So island mindset. So Shima or Jima, like a Hiroshima, or like those type of places. The Jima or Shima in that word means island, and the Kuni, which means country, and then Konjo is like mind. So there's this type of mindset in Japan where everybody is one, and if you're not Japanese, then you're outside. And like, I don't care how much you love this country. I don't care how much you play the games, you watch the anime, you get into the cards or the manga or dramas, whatever. It's gonna hit you. And what you do about it is what determines your experience here. For me, it's very difficult to navigate, because even when it comes to culture as a teacher and wanting to express myself in the way that I want to express, it's always like a thorn in my side. Like, I am never going to be one of these people. I am never going to fit in. For example, Japanese culture is they don't wear hats inside, period. And America, we don't care. We're just like, yeah, put your hat on, good to go. And I was getting people talking behind my back saying, hey, oh, he's wearing hats, in the classroom, or he's wearing hats like in the teacher's room, working. And it's like, what is that about? And a teacher literally came up to me and was like, why do you wear a hat? And I'm like, because this hat's really special to me. This is, someone made this custom made for me. And, this person is unfortunately not here, with me anymore. Like he's gone, and, I really respected that person. So, but that's my personal business. I shouldn't have to explain myself. That's another cultural difference. And they can't understand it. It's just like, but in Japan, we don't do that. I don't understand. Like, I can only see this. I can only see my Japanese way. I like, the society tells me I have to do this. I have to think like this. So I cannot open my mind to foreign life. And a lot of people in Japan are like that. One of the biggest languages in the world is English. You would not be surprised how many people cannot speak English here. And it's because of that mindset. And if you find somebody here that has a very open mind about traveling the world and learning different language, you hold on to that person, because they're very far and few. And it really gets to me sometimes. Sometimes I really question, like, what's the purpose of teaching if I can't express my culture? And it's sometimes it can weigh you down. It really can, because you want to teach students everything about your culture. You want to teach students different slang. You want to teach them different ways to communicate with people. One of the biggest things that I think any teacher or any person can relate to is in Japan, they teach, hello, how are you? And the answer is, I'm fine, thank you, and you. No one says that. Literally, no one says that in America. So I will hear that sometimes, like, I'm fine, thank you, and you. And I'm like, you're literally sounding like a robot. And I told my students, you're not doing that in my class. You're going to say I'm hungry. You're going to say I'm happy. You're going to say I'm good, I'm fine, I'm so-so, or, I'm sleepy. Just, I'm tired. You need to know these words so that you can communicate your actual feelings. And sometimes Japanese people can't get out of that programmed mindset where it's just like, look, everybody needs to be the same. So everyone say, I'm fine, thank you, and you. 1, 2, 3. I'm like, no. Because if you use that in America, they're going to laugh at you in your face.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's such a big problem in Japan, that island mindset where it's just like we're isolated in this small little bubble on the map, and anyone who comes in, you are immediately looked at as an other person, and you are looked down upon. If you can speak Japanese, oh, that's great. Oh, that's amazing. Wow, how did you do that? You're still another person. You're still not Japanese. Oh, if you have a kid here and it's half Japanese, half American, she's still another person. Like, look at Naomi Osaka. She gets so much BS from Japanese people. Like, you're not even Japanese. What are you doing speaking for our culture? What are you doing speaking for our people about these issues? Why are you talking about Black Lives Matter? You're Japanese. Like, why are you, why can't you choose between America and Japan? Go to America. You can't even speak Japanese. It's just really, frustrating seeing these comments and seeing this is installed in people's brains since they were kids. The same way that we was in love with Iron Man and X-Men and Spider-Man growing up is the same way that they were programmed to treat other countries and other people as less than. And if you look in the history of Japan, I don't want to go too long, but if you look in the history of Japan, it's been built on that mindset. Think of Shintoism. Think of all these the sun goddess and the sun god and the whole imperialism, the imperialistic Japan of the early 1900s. That led into World War I and World War II. That's all a product of this mindset of we are the one. We are the one. We are the people of the world. And everyone else is just outsiders. And we don't accept that. So it's the same, it's similar to our problems with, American culture. I mean, we have very different, vast situations, but on that same level, there's this internal historical problem of discrimination between not just Japanese people within the borders of the country, but also within the way and the perspective that they see other people. And that's like a really big deal. I would love, if I get a chance to go back to school, I would probably make, some material about that and really shed a light on that. But it's deep. Same as the history of racism with, slaves and African Americans in America is the same that, I could say about the way that they feel about Christians in Japan, because there's not a lot of Christians, the way that they were hung and persecuted, the way that Japanese feel about the original people. If people don't know, Ainu, who were the original Japanese, how they were forced out of their homelands, same as Native Americans were forced out of their homelands. There's a lot of parallels. If you look in the history of Japan, there's a lot of parallels, a lot of similar mindsets that are kind of still to this day creating problems. And acknowledging those is the biggest step to, I think, making a more global, more friendly, more interactive world. And I just hope to God that it happens, for us one day.
Given all that you said about these like systemic problems in society, in Japanese society, are you still comfortable calling Japan your home? Like, would you see it as a place that you would want to stay long term, like in the next 5 or 10 years or even 20 years?
I think that regardless of a lot of the problems and things that I've been facing here and things that I've been seeing, there's no bigger teacher than experience. And for me, when I was a student here, I had some of the worst times of my life. I've had some of the best times of my life. One of the worst was, my grandfather and my uncle passing like within a week span. And on top of that, having to do my midterms. So that was like really, tumultuous time for me. But then at the same time, kicking it with, my best friend John and, my boy Raza was there with me, and we're like karaokeing our eyes out and like, our host families getting together, doing barbecues and, just going out to like bars and clubs and just talking to people just for the fun of it, even if you made mistakes. And people just like, yo, you're doing good. And that liquid courage, that take you a long way. But just those like great experience, even just cooking and like shopping for different types of food, learning different cuisines here, and just enjoying the fresh air. Just trains are on time here, and just all these different no tips here. Like there's just different like little small things about Japan that just really like it. You have to appreciate it, and it's like I never take those small things for granted, and all those small things build up into this big experience of just being myself. And I feel like here I can finally be myself and be who I've always wanted to be. A lot of times people, whether it's in high school, junior high school, they're like pressured to be this type of person, or you got to talk to the girls. You got to, you got to go, the parents might tell you, you got to be a good boy, go to church. You got to, study up. You got to get this law degree. You got to get this medical degree. You got to, people are swaying you left and right. And when you can finally get in a space where you can be yourself, for me, my space was Japan. For other people, their space might be going to a different state in America, or going to a different city away from family, but still close enough to visit. Everybody needs that space to really flourish and be their own person. And for me personally, as much as I love my family to death. We have our disagreements, but I love them to death. My friends out in America, we talked like, I think the last weekend, they're great. My teachers out there, everybody supporting me, people from my church. But at the end of the day, Japan has allowed me to be a person that I never anticipated and expected that I could be. And I'm growing every day. I thank God that, I'm alive to see 25, like I should have never made it. I didn't come from the best of, backgrounds, but being here has really showed me that there's so much more to learn, and there's so much more to maturing and being a full individual. And every day is a blessing. I mean, one day I will come back to America. I want to share these experiences with other people, because I feel like that's my calling in life, is not to just grow as a person, but the reason that I'm alive today is to share my story with people. And it's not just about, taking every experience and just having a life. I'm just another name on Facebook. I'm just another, account, on Twitter. No, you're a voice. You matter. And if you don't share those experiences that you learned, and that's why I'm glad that this podcast is doing what it's doing because, you're sharing stories and you're sharing, advice and different things to people that they might not know about. And you don't know who you can touch. You don't know who you can help, but it helps someone. And if it helps one person, that one person, their life is going to change drastically. So that's why I really think that I could be in Japan for a long time because that experience nothing will take away that experience that I had here. At the same time, to be realistic, I know that I'm always going to be a other person. I know that if I do want to get married and have kids, I have to consider those things. I don't know what's going to happen with my current relationship, but if I do get married and have kids, I want my kids to be in a nice environment, and I want them to have both cultures. So America will be, in my view, within the next, 5-10 years, So yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now. I'm feeling like I got like a few more years left in me to like really explore myself, but yeah, the savings is ongoing. So I can plan ahead for the next step because I will go back to America eventually and share what I've learned here.
That was really inspiring.
Appreciate it.
So, and I guess, so now moving forward with your life, I guess, and like right now you're doing ALT. Is this a job that you see yourself continuing, or maybe do you want to switch and go into a different profession moving forward?
So recently I've been actually looking into private teaching. So there's 3 different things I've been looking at. So one is the ALT, which is assistant language teaching, where you're basically T1 and T2, you're teaching with a Japanese teacher. And then there's the second one, which is called Eikaiwa, which is basically private teaching or tutoring. And that can be seen as like an after school type of thing. You're going to have long hours between like 9 a.m. to like 8 p.m. or 10 a.m. to like 9 p.m. And it's, you don't have normal hours. I think you have to work from like Tuesday to Saturday most of the time. So you only have Sundays and Mondays off, which is kind of weird. And then there's a third option, which is a direct hire where you are hired by a specific school. So you can be hired by an international school or a private school, which is a lot of times it's kindergarten or preschool. If you're good with kids, then you're a perfect fit. Me, I love kids. Like in this experience, even now, I've realized that I'm really good with kids. So I've taught middle school and it's been fun. I've taught 5th and 6th grade here in Japan, which is still elementary school. School system's a little different, but than America. But yeah, it's basically like beginning of middle school. And in my experience, like the lowest I've taught is 3rd grade elementary, and they do not care about making mistakes. If they say something wrong, they just keep going. Japanese people have this mindset of, I have to be perfect, I have to be perfect. But with little kids, they're like, it's fun. Let's do it. It's lit. And I'll say it's lit. Like, it's lit. I'm like, yes, there you go. And then, if you say that to like middle school, like, it's lit. Like, what? Man, that's stupid. Like, they're not open to, learning new things because they're hearing, like, that's when like the puberty starts coming in and, they're starting to decide whether they like certain things or not. So they already decide, oh man, either it's like, screw English, or it's like, I love English. There is no in between. And the kids, they just don't care. They'll pick up anything. That's why I want to start with kids like from a young age. I mean, from 2 years old to, I don't know, 6 or 7, because that's the perfect time frame for kids to like soak in man, I still remember a Sega Genesis, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I still know the buttons. I know the controls. I know how to, when you're a kid, you pick up a lot of things and it never goes away. If I picked up a Sega Genesis, the first time I did was like 3 years old. I still know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So with that same mindset, that's how I want to teach these kids. I want to make sure that they keep this stuff forever. And direct hires, one, it's more money. So instead of making like maybe, I'd say American equivalent is like maybe $2,200 a month or $2,300 a month, you're going to be making more like, $3,000 a month. You're going to be doing pretty good. And then you get bonuses. You get the benefits for renewing your contract, bonuses for like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months into the contract. You also get Japanese healthcare, but it's through the company. So there's 2 different types where there's a kokumin hoken, which is like individual health insurance. And, it's pretty cheap. Health insurance is very cheap in Japan. But if you get shakai hoken, which is company insurance, health insurance, it's a little bit more money, but, it's your paycheck and you get more benefits from it. If you leave the company or if you retire, you get a lot of money back, and that's something to think about in the long run. If you're thinking, oh, I just want to pay less. Nah, I don't have time for that. You also got to think, if you didn't get that, company insurance, you're not getting anything back. If you just take the cheaper option, it's not necessarily better. So, and then you also get Japanese pension help, with navigating taxes. So the company will actually help you with, the taxing, and you'll get your tax returns just like you do in America. So direct hire is what I'm looking at right now. Working in like international or like private schooling, like in kindergarten, preschool. That's where the fun's at. That's where the money's at. And I'm encouraging people, please do your research before you say yes to a company in Japan. Don't just be like me and just come to Japan and, do it because you love Japan. Do it because you want to make a living for yourself too, and you want to be stable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think on that note, I think that's a good point to go and call it for this podcast. But that was great. We're so grateful to have you on the podcast, our official first guest, and you shared everything, man. I'm like you were saying before, I know at least one person's gonna be affected by everything you were saying, and that's gonna change their life. So thank you so much for being on here. So what are you up to social wise? You wanna go and let everyone know?
All right, so there's a lot of things that I'm doing. For one, you can find me on Instagram. It's Dorigato, so it's a DORIGATOU. Don't forget the U because that's how you spell it. Okay, in reality. Okay, arigato with the U.
Don't want to get the wrong Dorian.
Yeah, I'll be like, yo, that's not me.
Remember the U, guys. Remember the U.
Remember the U. You can follow me on YouTube. My name on YouTube is Dorio TV. That's D and Oreo, so spelt like Oreo, OREO TV. Okay, Dorio TV. And same thing is for my Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I have a SoundCloud. So if you put in soundcloud.com/Dorio TV, you'll get access to a lot of free music that I've made. There's going to be a lot more music coming out within the next year or so. That's, you're going to be able to, purchase some beats, made by yours truly, some music here and there. But for now, SoundCloud is all free music.
I've also heard some rumblings there may be a podcast coming in.
Oh, I might be, cooking up something, man. I'm working on a podcast. We don't have an official name yet, but definitely I'm working on something where I'm talking about these similar topics about being a foreigner in Japan and food that I eat here, the music that I listen to, recommendations on how to buy games, where to get games, region, locks and region free things, So I'm talking about everything, and absolutely interracial dating is going to be a big topic because who doesn't want to talk about relationships?
So guys, please follow Dorian on all his platforms. Look out for his content coming up and this possible podcast on the horizon. It's an exciting time, guys.
You know what it is, man. Yeah, it's on like Donkey Kong, bro.
But yeah, Dorian, I just want to thank you again for coming on. And I also want to thank our listeners for listening all the way to the end. And we actually have some Japanese listeners now. Like, shout out to Makoto and Miku.
Wow.
And just a last statement, is there something you want to say to our listeners or even our Japanese listeners?
Well, I'm really glad that I was able to be your first guest, and I was able to explain my current and my past experiences with Japan. So for the English listeners, thank you for coming. I guess for the Japanese, zenbu kite kurete arigato ne. It was a long discussion, but you stayed all the way, and I appreciate it. Sugoi. 本当にこのポッドキャストは一番最高.
Hey man, first time on and not the last.
Definitely, yeah. Anytime you need me, I'm here.
Yeah, guys, look out for Dorian in the coming future.
Absolutely. You already know. That's Dorio TV, Dorigato on Instagram. And send me a message. Send me a message. Even YouTube, if you reply, I got you.
Yeah, also Dorian is on our Discord, so if you guys are interested in talking to him on there too, you guys can join our Discord and have as many conversations with Dorian. Maybe ask him a couple questions and he'll enlighten you on his experiences.
I will show you the way to Buddha, yes. That's enlightenment right there.
But yeah, we'll put all his links to his social in our YouTube description, and also if you can't find it there, you should go to our website korepoddo.com, and you'll have all the links there and everything we talked about today.
It's lit.
So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening all the way. Remember to go hit the subscribe button, like the video, hit the bell, follow us on Spotify. We are now on Google Podcasts too. Leave a comment if you have a question for us or Dorian, and you will get an answer.
Indeed.
And if you want to support us, just follow us on Patreon. We have bonus episodes almost every other week there.
All right. Now, time for us to all sign off. Peace.
Peace.